This is an absolute steal for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a massive new report from Elliotte Friedman has dropped, revealing a huge update surrounding an absolute steal of a trade for this Maple Leafs team. We're going to break down exactly what this update is and discuss how it has Leafs fans split following this new report. But not only that, we have some other updates ahead of the big game on Tuesday night as the Leafs go for another win. But before we get into it all, we all know the Leafs have had their fair share of problems this year, whether that be injuries, whether that be performance in the top six. But I want to share with you a problem that I've been having. I'm sure a lot of you guys have as well, and that is the blackouts when it comes to watching Maple Leafs games. If you don't know, I'm not from Toronto, which means almost every single game is blacked out, and it is a huge problem. And the solutions, they cost a ton of money, sometimes over $30 a month just to watch the team play. It is crazy, but finally, we have found a solution, Darius.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's no surprise. We all pay so much money to watch the Leafs. And most of you people watching these videos can't even watch all of the Leaf games, right? You're blacked out. So it's a bit ridiculous. And for example, if you have ESPN Plus in the States, you can watch all the Leaf games. And if you live here, you can't watch all of them. So with Stream Locator, you can. It is a VPN. You can appear either in the States or somewhere else, and you can watch all of your favorite team, the Toronto Maple Leafs games with Stream Locator.
Yeah, finally, we found a solution. Check them out in the pinned comment and description down below. The best part is it's only $7 Canadian a month, and there is a 7-day free trial. No credit card required. So if you're sick of the blackouts like I am, make sure to check it out down below. Now, Darius, we have a lot to go over today. Obviously, the Nick Robertson situation has gotten pretty crazy at this point. A ton of reports are starting to come out. And it seems at this point that a trade is imminent for Robertson. Let's dive into a new report that is dropped, not just surrounding a Nick Robertson trade, but also a familiar face here on the channel. You can see here, this is the initial report a few days ago by Pierre LeBrun. The Maple Leafs are among the teams that have reportedly started to kick tires on Chinakhov, who requested a trade from Columbus over the summer. The 23-year-old winger was scratched and hasn't played. He played a little bit this season. We'll dive into his stats here. But Darius, this is where things become interesting. We've talked about a Robertson for Chinakhov swap on this channel, but some new reports have dropped revealing that they've actually had this conversation in the past. And in the most recent Elliotte Friedman 32 Thoughts podcast, he said that Toronto was investigating options for Nick Robertson. At some point in the summer, they pitched a move for Yegor Chinakhov, but that wasn't to the Blue Jackets' liking. Now, this is pretty big, and obviously at the time it wasn't to their liking. Fast forward to where we are now, they're still desperate for a trade. Not necessarily the Blue Jackets. The Leafs are desperate to trade Robertson. And I think eventually the Blue Jackets are going to have to cut their losses here, and this could be a perfect time for the Leafs to step in and finesse the Blue Jackets with the move here.
Things change very quickly in the NHL. So Elliotte Friedman, like you said, came out and said that this happened. And we covered this during the summer when there were rumors flying around, and we thought that it actually made sense at the time, except for the fact that Chinakhov can't really stay healthy, right? He hasn't really played that many games in his NHL career, but he's a half a point a game player when he does play. He's a very effective player, and he would put up more points per games played than Nick Robertson on the Leafs, presumably at least, right? You never know about fit and stuff like that, but we were talking about that in the summer, and I still think I would possibly do this trade now because I think that he could add some scoring to the Leafs that Nick Robertson, while he has changed his play style a little bit, hasn't really been able to offer the team, right? So I think that it's interesting in that way. And then, things change, like I said, in the NHL very quickly. Columbus is looking at this now. When you look at around the league, Lucas Reichel just got traded, right? Like that got solved. It was for a 4th-round pick. So if you're looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you're the Columbus Blue Jackets and going, actually, we can get Nick Robertson back who can play every game, right? He doesn't play every game with the Leafs, but on another team can play every game and has scored 15 goals in this league before. Maybe he can be a 20, 25 goal scorer. I think in the right situation and the right lineup, Nick Robertson can actually score 30 goals in this league, but, it remains to be seen, of course, all of those things. So I think if you're Columbus right now looking at this, Chinakhov has switched agents. He still wants out by all rumors and reports of Columbus. So I think that it just still makes sense. If you're Columbus looking at this and you're going, we're going to have to figure out something with this player anyway, because there were rumors that maybe he'd go back to the KHL. Why not get a Nick Robertson in return? I think that could make sense rather than some of the other trade rumors around the league, like a Brendan Othman or something. I don't think that really makes sense for the Leafs for Nick Robertson. So I don't know if this is dead yet. I think they kind of pushed it to the side in the summer and said, we'll deal with it. Maybe he'll come to camp and he'll be okay. Sounds like he still wants out. And if you're the Blue Jackets, if you're looking at Nick Robertson, I think it makes sense because he can play a whole season.
He hasn't been that bad this year, Nick Robertson, that is. And obviously, Chinakhov's cap hit, $2.1 million. And looking at his stats this year, 1 assist in 3 games. He's been healthy scratched a few times. And funny thing is, not really that funny. Nick Robertson also requested a trade a couple years ago. So now you're at a point, a couple off seasons ago, rather. You're at a point now where both these guys, and Nick Robertson hasn't expressed the immediate desire to want to leave this year. He's playing his role. He had a pretty good game yesterday in their big win over the Sabres in overtime. But at the end of the day, like, this is a team now in the Blue Jackets that at some point you're gonna have to cut your losses. Either he's gonna leave, you mentioned the KHL, or you could get a young asset that, I mean, I think the Leafs at some point here, if they can't trade him for a player, might just give him up for a draft pick. They have so many different options down there. And for Chinikov, he actually has pretty good advanced stats. It could be a swap of, you don't have to throw draft picks necessarily, obviously make the salaries work and things like that, but you can make it so it's a great deal for the Leafs. This would be a steal in my mind, only because I don't think necessarily that Chinikov is some insane player that's definitely going to be better than Nick Robertson. But anytime you can get a young asset back in exchange for your other young asset, when otherwise it would have been a late draft pick, you go ahead and do that. And I truly believe there's a good chance of this happening here, especially because you can see here now 3 games, 1 assist. But Chinikov, like, his time on ice is super low. He's getting phased out of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I think at this point here, a trade seems to be coming, at least on the Nick Robertson front, because there's been a lot of rumors about that as well.
Yeah, and for the Leafs on that side, Nick Robertson, where's that headed at this point? We're doing the same thing every summer. And of course, he didn't request the trade this summer. He's like, okay, I'm going to be on the team. I got to play a certain way, all of those things. And he came to camp. There was no drama with that this summer, right? Credit where credit's due. But where is this headed? You're just going to do the same thing next year? Like, at some point, I think they're probably going to have to end up trading him. And then if you can get a guy like Chinikov back in return, I think that could make sense. He could work with the Toronto training staff. We know all of that stuff, MLSE, the training staff, Kawhi Leonard, all of that, right? So it could make some sense. I don't know what the specifics are in the injuries he sustained and how susceptible he is to certain things, of course, but hasn't been able to play a lot of games at the NHL level, but has been effective when he has done that. And like you brought up, he's playing an average of 8 minutes a night. I don't know what you're going to do with that. If you're looking around the league, even Michelli, last year, what are you going to do with like 7 minutes time on ice and the fact that he didn't even want to be there in that situation? Chinakov's in the same situation. If you were at a job that you didn't like and you were checked out mentally, you're not going to be able to perform or make an impact either, right? So that's kind of what he's dealing with right now. And like you said, they're phasing him out slowly down the depth chart, but he has proven that he can put up points and be an impact player at the NHL level. So I think that it could make some sense. He makes a little bit more. They would only have to shift around a little bit of salary in taking this risk anyway. So I don't hate it. I think that it could make a lot of sense. He's actually pretty responsible defensively too. Would he buy into Berube's system? A couple things remain to be seen, right? But he is a little bit bigger as well. 6'1", a little bit of a bigger frame at 205 pounds. I think that the Leafs could have some interest there. And I think that it could actually work out for the Leafs in that way. So definitely interesting. I think that you can revisit things in the NHL, as time has gone on. Maybe Columbus is looking at this like, and the Leafs for that matter, let's get something here. Let's get a deal done instead of just trading both of these guys for absolutely nothing, because that's where it's headed for both of them, I think, at this point.
And this is the last year of his deal. It's an expiring contract. And some other notes quickly before I wrap up here. This is the backstory on him. You can see here his new agent has permission from the Blue Jackets to talk directly to other teams. Chinikov isn't changing agents, hasn't lessened his desire to be traded out of Columbus. It's going to happen, folks. Chinikov is probably going to get moved here, and hopefully it's to the Maple Leafs and we can get a steal out of it. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. And once again, check out Stream Locator in the link down below. Thank you guys for watching.